Well, April 1st may prove to be a pivotal date in the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. That was the day that Israeli strikes killed 7 World Central Kitchen workers, and Israel has now fired 2 IDF officers and admitted to poor internal communication and a failure to follow rules of engagement. April 1st was also the day of a strike on an Iranian consulate in Syria's capital, Damascus, that killed 12 people, including 2 Iranian generals. Iran blames Israel for the strike, and U.S. officials believe that Iran could soon retaliate. For analysis, we are joined now by CBS News national security contributor Sam Vinograd for our weekly national security recap. So tell us what changes we might see, first of all, starting with the humanitarian aid front, following Israel's investigation into those deaths of the World Central Kitchen workers.
Well, Anna, the humanitarian context is just unfathomable. We're reaching the 6-month mark of Israeli hostages in captivity. The UN is estimating that 50,000 children in Gaza are suffering from acute malnutrition, and aid is just trickling in. In the aftermath of the strike against the World Central Kitchen workers, the Israeli government has announced additional steps to increase the flow of aid. From a structural perspective, the Israeli government has now said that the war cabinet, rather than the full cabinet, will make decisions on aid. That's a smaller group and doesn't include the far-right, more hardline ministers who have thrown up roadblocks before. In terms of how the aid could get in, right now aid is really coming in via airdrop and through 2 land crossings in the south. The Israeli government has said that they'll allow for more aid through one of those crossings called Kerem Shalom. Up in the north, they've said they'd allow temporarily aid to flow through the port of Ashdod, and for another border crossing, this time in the north, called the Erez crossing, to reopen and to allow aid to flow through there. It was attacked and then it was closed after October 7th. The United States has said it is on track to open a maritime pier by the end of April or early May for aid deliveries. But frankly, Lana, there are real operational constraints associated with all of these steps. So it's unclear, even with the best of intentions, how soon they may materialize.
And Sam, I want to dig deeper into Iran and the threat of a wider regional conflict. Obviously, this has been something that people have been concerned about from the very beginning. What are you watching for?
Well, the global threat level is heightened in the aftermath of the Israeli strike against an Iranian consulate in Syria. The U.S. reportedly has intel that Iran is planning to retaliate with a swarm of drones and cruise missiles. That's on brand for Iran. They've used those kinds of weapons in the past, historically via their proxy forces in the region. The problem is the potential target list here is just so broad. Within Israel, we understand that the Israeli military has canceled leave for some units and called up reservists, anticipating a potential strike from perhaps Syria or Lebanon by Iranian proxies into Israel. But Israeli consulates, maritime vessels, and embassies around the world, not to mention Israeli citizens, are also at risk. But it's not just Israel. Iran has historically retaliated against U.S. assets as well. Now, we understand the United States did send Iran a message warning them not to attack us, but that hasn't always dissuaded them in the past. So both the United States and Iran are on high alert and likely trying to bolster security at all potential targets while reviewing intel consistently to see if we can get any more clarity on what they're planning.
And Sam, the last week has also been an important one for U.S.-China relations. What can you tell us about the increase in high-level engagement?
Well, we've seen an increase in high-level engagement between the United States and China over the last few months, and that's a good thing. We can't just regularly talk to our friends. We have to talk to our competitors to avoid miscommunication and miscalculation. Biden and Xi Jinping met in November. They pledged to increase military dialogue and cooperation to counter fentanyl. And then Biden and Xi Jinping spoke earlier this week for almost 2 hours on several contentious issues: Taiwan, trade, TikTok, and more. That's followed by Secretary Yellen's trip to China. She's there now. She spent the last day or so in the South talking about what she perceives to be China's excess capacity issues and is slated to travel to Beijing next. Secretary Blinken will follow up on Secretary Yellen's visit in the coming weeks, and we should expect there to be a continued focus on durable communications and ongoing dialogue.
All right, Sam, thank you.